In graphing tangent and cotangent, we're going to be a little bit less concerned about specific values as we were with sine and cosine, and more about general trends in the graphs. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a quick graph of tangent on my calculator. So I'm going to open that up. We get this interesting looking shape where it goes up and then suddenly it's down again, and it goes up, and then there's all these things happening. The important thing to know is that between this curve and this curve, there's an asymptote. So as we approach whatever this x value is, the value of tangent will increase and increase forever and ever, but it'll never actually reach whatever this x value is. And suddenly on the other side, it's the exact same trend, but negative. And that pattern will continue, asymptote, asymptote, and so forth. We need to know why the asymptotes occur with tangent and cotangent to understand what the graphs will look like. So the first thing we want to do is look at the fact that tangent is sine over cosine, and think about why would there be an asymptote. Well, we usually get asymptotes when we divide by 0. So when do we divide by 0 if cosine is the denominator? Well, cosine will have a value of 0 whenever we have a x-coordinate of 0 on the unit circle, which happens at pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and so forth. So, when we look at our graph of tangent, what we're looking for are having asymptotes at pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, negative pi over 2, and on for as long as you'd like. And when you look at the unit circle, tangent in the first quadrant, here, or here between 0 and pi over 2, should be positive. You can think about tangent being the slope of a line, you can think about dividing sine and cosine, they're both being positive in that quadrant, and the slope will increase the closer you get to pi over 2. The slope here is small and quickly grows and grows, and that is why tangent increases towards its asymptote. In the fourth quadrant, between 0 and negative pi over 2, when you divide sine by cosine, you'll get a negative value. And that is why the same trend happened in the opposite direction here. And those trends will repeat over and over again, giving us that repetition between asymptotes for tangent. Same idea works when we look at cotangent. Oops. Cotangent is, instead of sine over cosine, cosine over sine. So its asymptotes will occur whenever sine is equal to 0. Sine, being the y values in the unit circle, will be 0 at angles of 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, negative pi, or any other multiple of pi. So we can place those in here. 0, pi, 2 pi, negative pi, and when we look at dividing these, we're going to see a similar trend to what we saw with tangent. So in the first quadrant between 0 and pi over 4, when we divide cosine by sine, we get a large positive number. By the time we get close to pi, we're dividing cosine by sine. Cosine here is negative, sine is positive. We should have a negative number. And that's why we see this trend. And it will repeat in any period on the graph. Note here that tangent between pi over 2, or negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, the period is pi, and the same thing is true on cotangent. The period from 0 to pi is also pi.